Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob. And we'll stop there, right? So Malachi is an interesting book. There's not a lot that we know about Malachi, the person, or like when the book was written. There's two theories about when he was. He's pretty much a contemporary to Nehemiah and Ezra, but where he is in with Nehemiah and Ezra is debated, right? Oftentimes he'll be put in between the book of Ezra and Nehemiah, and other times they'll be put at the after effects of Nehemiah where Israel rebels again. So it's at one of the parts in Israel's career where they drift away from the Lord again, right? So much like between after Ezra built the temple before Nehemiah got there and things got right again there. So there's a time frame in there where they were screwing up. And then after Nehemiah, there's another time where they drift away from the Lord and screw up, and God's got to smack them upside the head and say, hey guys, what on earth are you doing? Right? So it's one of those two times. More likely it's between Ezra and Nehemiah. Right? So these three books all kind of work and flow and go together. Right? And we'll see a pattern in Malachi, especially in chapter 1, where the Lord makes a statement, much like he did in verse 2, where he says, I have loved you, saith the Lord. But the next phrase is, yet. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? So the Lord is saying, I have loved you. I've taken care of you. I've shown my affection to you in a number of ways. And Israel goes, huh? How? Look at our situation. How can you possibly say that you loved us? Right? In a matter of perspective is basically what Israel's got going on here. And God has one perspective, and Israel definitely has a different perspective. Right? So the first statement there is, I've loved you. And the Lord goes in verses 3 through 5, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. And they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. And your eyes shall see, and ye shall say, the Lord will be magnified from the border of Israel. So what's happening there? How is the Lord showing Israel, in this specific instance, his love for them? How is he portraying that? Because has Israel drifted from the Lord? Sure. Has Edom drifted from the Lord? Yes. Who's being punished worse? Nobody knows. Who's being punished worse? Edom is, right. Right? Very good. Because what is the Lord trying to do with Israel? Bring them back. Is he trying to bring Edom back with the same intensity that he is Israel? No, he's not. So the Lord has, we've seen that through the whole Old Testament, right? Where the Lord has punished Israel, but not like he's punished those he's used to punish Israel, right? Think about Egypt and the captivity of Israel in Egypt, right? Was that a good time for Israel? No. Was the 10 plagues a great time for Egypt? No. So which was worse, right? Okay, so yes, he's punishing. Yes, he's trying to correct them. Why? Why does he have to go through such drastic measures to correct Israel? Because they don't listen. They don't listen. Why does God have to go through such measures, drastic measures, to correct us? Because we don't listen. So I think there's a pattern where people just don't listen, right? Did you all hear that? Okay, good. All right, very good. Right? So the Lord is saying, look, I've loved you. I have not given you what I've given to others. And Israel's going, I don't feel loved. right? And that's what's going on there. If we take a look at verse 6, that's where it starts off next. Verse 6, a son honoreth his father, and a servant his master. If then I be a father, where is mine honor? And if I be a master, where is my fear, saith the Lord of hosts unto you? O priests that despise my name, and ye say, wherein have we despised thy name? Right? So what's the Lord saying now in verse 6? Right? There's a relationship. Well, there's two different kinds of relationships that are mentioned there, right? What are the two? Right? A servant and a master? Right? So if I'm a master, right? And what's the other one? Right? That's the reciprocating end of it. But what else does the Lord portray himself as? A father, right? Right? And what do these positions deserve? Respect, honor, right? And what is the Lord saying? Not getting it, guys. Right? Who's he talking to? He's talking to the priests, right? So in this first one, he's talking to the people in general. This other one, he's talking to the priests. Who are the priests? What's their job? What's their role? Say it again? They're supposed to be the religious leaders, right? So of all people, who do you think should give the Lord, either as master or as father, the most honor? The priests, right? That's where we as people, or as Israel as people, kind of get their example from. Right? Because as a new Christian, when you come in, you're like, what do I do? How do I do? Right? So where do you get your example from? Somebody who should know better. A leader who should know better. Right? And the Lord saying, like Darlene said, I ain't getting it. Right? And what is their response? Yeah. Yeah, are you sure? How? What do you mean? Right? It's funny how if you deal with kids at all, it seems like Israel is very much a little kid, right? Right? When you tell them to go clean up their room, right? And they go, I did. And you look and you go, really? What is all this? What? I don't see anything. Right? It's that whiny, there's nothing really there. Come on, God. How are we not honoring you? Right? And that's what's going on there. And the rest of chapter 1 is much like this. How have we despised thy name? Right? And it goes on in 7 and 8 to explain how. Right? And Pastor touched on this on last Sunday, because he's a week ahead of us. Right? Ye offer polluted bread upon mine altar, and ye say, wherein have we polluted thee? In that ye say, the table of the Lord is contemptible. And if ye offer the blind for sacrifice, is it not evil? And if ye offer the lame and sick, is it not evil? Offer it now unto thy governor. Will he be pleased with thee, or accept thy person, saith the Lord of hosts? Right? So what's the Lord saying there? Right? The second best. It's not even the second best, is it? It's worse. Yeah, it's the garbage, because the Lord points out, well, okay, let's look at it this way, shall we? You go take that to your governor, to your master, right? And let's see what he says about that. So then, in what place are we putting God by our actions? Under us, right? And The book of Malachi is a lot like that. And it's interesting where we have learned as people, as Christians, we have learned to worship God, right, by the churches we've been in, right? Because not all of us in here have always been in this church our whole lives, other than maybe Darlene, right? Hi, Darlene. Right? We've been at other churches, right? Do they all worship the same? No. Some are similar. Some are drastically different. And how do you reconcile those differences? Right? Music, dress, Bible version, whatever it is, right? There's a whole ton of different stuff that's out there. How do you reconcile those differences? Wow, that's just your personal preference, right? Is what you'll hear. But as you look through Malachi, what is the Lord actually saying, right? There's an expected way, there's an acceptable way to the Lord that he wants to be worshiped, that he wants to be served. And that when we step outside of those lines, we'll see that that doesn't please God, right? And this is just as the start of that, right? And the Lord's saying, look, I've loved you. I've loved all of you, he says. And you're looking at your life and God, like, God, I don't feel the love, right? That's a problem David had, right? If you remember in the Psalms, where David was like, Lord, you're my God, right? But yet I see the wicked are way better off than I am, right? Why is that, Lord? Well, there's a whole different picture and a whole different thing going on there. And the Lord's like, relax, right? I love you, right? Abraham, another great example, right? When the Lord said to Abraham, look, I am thy exceeding and great reward. Well, Lord, I'm not always feeling it, right? But that doesn't mean that it's not there. And that doesn't mean that the Lord doesn't love David, doesn't love Abraham, doesn't love Israel, doesn't love us, right? Okay. What does he want, though? He wants that personal relationship. But how he wants to be seen, how he wants to be worshiped, there's a definite way there, right? He's like, look, I am a master. I am a father. Later on it goes, I'm an exceeding great king. Do you know who I am? Is the line that God's saying. Do you know who I am? Right? And as a culture, we have gotten away from who God is. Right? Because if we have a proper perspective of God as king, as master, even as father, right? Are we going to have the questions we have about, well, how should I dress in church? No. How are you going to come? Knowing who's here. Right? And we've seen culture just slip away from that. We have a more mature group in this. Many of you probably remember a time where men dressed in suits all the time. Right? Where is that now? Why is that now? Right? You get it to where you don't even dress appropriately for weddings and funerals anymore. Or for work.
People who are hiring are amazed at how people come.
Right. Exactly. People go shopping in their pajamas. What? That is unfathomable to me. My mom was old school, and nope, that is not happening, right? So you see that and you go like, what happened? But that's where we are. You know, I don't know how any self-respecting dude goes out in his ducky jammies and Crocs and thinks that's okay. I'm sorry, that ain't right. But now, if that's becoming acceptable there, how long before you see that here? Right? Peter.
My dad told me a story one time when he was a young man working on the farm, and they'd be out there working in their T-shirts with their shirts on. They would hear that the women are coming and bringing a lemonade.
Yep.
They would put their shirts on before those women got there.
Yeah, well, now it's the other way. Right now it's the other way around. Right? Sometimes, yeah. When the bad dude comes up in a suit, where'd you get that from? You know? But yeah, you're right. Go ahead. Oh yeah, yeah,
In his hoodie.
yeah. What? Why is that? What is missing? Brain cells. Right? Starts with an R. What is it? Respect. Right? There's no respect for where you're going. There's no respect for other people. There's no respect for the position. Right? Who was it? Reagan. I think it was Reagan. Ronald Reagan always wore a suit coat in the Oval Office because of the respect he had for the position and that office. Right? So when you come now into a church environment, who are you coming to see? Right? Who is your God to you? Right? Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to come in tuxedos and everything because it's God. But what do you have? Right? What do you have? What's the best that you've got for who you're going to see? Right? Not everybody has a suit. Not everybody can afford a suit. Not everybody fits in a suit. You know, it just doesn't always happen. Right? But what's the best that you've got? Your luggage gets lost on an airplane. You've got nothing. Now what do? Do you not go to church or do you come in with what you've got? Right? So, I mean, there's situations for all those things, but in general, that's what the Lord is saying. Do you know who I am? Right? If you don't know who I am, go back to Genesis 1 and I'll let you know who I am. And then we can go from there. Right? That's what's happening here. And what you're offering in verses 7 and 8. Verse 12. Let's go to verse 12. But ye have profaned it. We're talking about the examples of the stuff that they're giving, right? Verse 12. Ye have profaned it in that ye say, the table of the Lord is polluted, and the fruit thereof, even his meat, is contemptible. Right? What is the Lord saying there? What is the Lord saying that they're saying? Who's the ye? The ye is the people, right? And what are they saying? Okay, we don't respect you. What does it say about what they're offering? It's contemptible, right? That is what Israel is saying. It is contemptible. What else? It is defiled. What else? Unholy. What else? There's 2 P words in there. It's profane, right? Not good. What else? Polluted. That is what Israel is using to describe what they're doing. Okay, so wait a minute. If you circle back then to verse 6, where the priests go, well, wait a minute. How are we defiling your offering? They know. They know exactly how they're doing it. Rick. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so they know what they're doing, but they're trying, just like a little kid. What mess? I'm not doing anything. I didn't do anything. Right? Everything's fine. And verse 13 then. Verse 13. Ye said also, behold, what a weariness is it, and ye have snuffed at it, saith the Lord of hosts, and ye brought that which was torn, and the lame and the sick. Thus, excuse me. Thus ye brought an offering. Should I accept this of your hand, saith the Lord? Right? So, if you circle back to 6, where's my honor? Where's my fear? The priests are going, what? The people know what's happening. So the Lord's then putting them to a question. Let me ask you this then. Should I accept this garbage from you? Right? That's his question to them. Look back at verse 10. At verse 10, who is there even among you that would shut the doors for naught? Neither do ye kindle fire on mine altar for naught. I have no pleasure in you, saith the Lord of hosts. Neither will I accept an offering at your hand. Wow. So the Lord's going, look, I don't want your garbage. Think about what the Lord is actually saying there. I would rather you brought nothing than what you did bring. Wow. Randy. I think you're too old and in the past. Okay. Right? But think about what the Lord is saying there. I would rather you brought nothing than the garbage that you brought. Right? Chapter 2, verse 17. Ye have wearied the Lord with your words. Yet ye say, wherein have we wearied him? When ye say, everyone that doeth evil is good in the sight of the Lord, and he delighteth in them. Or, where is the God of judgment? Right? What are people saying? What are people saying? Peter.
They're in bondage maybe to their heritage. There's no relationship with God. They almost, in a sense, want to be free. But we're supposed to give this stuff, so we'll give something.
Right? It's like lazy Pharisees. Yeah, it's almost like lazy Pharisees. Well, we know we have to. Well, here's this. He'll be fine with that. Right? Okay? There's one thing that they're saying. What's another thing that they're saying? Sure. Because, well, I did what I was told. Right? Well, did you? Okay. What else are they saying, though? What's ticking the Lord off here? They're calling evil good. Right? What does that mean? They're lying to themselves. What else? Right? They didn't honor and respect the Lord with the first fruits. Or with what else? They compromised. Okay, so now when you see the compromise, like what we're seeing in the church environment, right? Because the church environment is always the first sign of where things go wrong, right? Insert sarcasm here, right? Where else have they compromised? Out in society, right? Exactly. So when we start to say that evil is good in society and our interaction with society, where else are we going to say evil is good? Everywhere else. Think about it for a second, right? Contemporary churches, right? And the music that they have. Okay? Darlene just ate a lemon with that face. That was awesome, right? So we know how Darlene feels about that, right? Think about that, right? You don't just start with rock band music, do you? How did that get there? There had to be a compromise at some point, right? And you think about even your bigger churches, right? You have the early classic service, and then the younger service later on, right? So they had to make a compromise there. But where did that compromise start? Okay, in the culture, but we already know that the culture is wicked, right? How does that affect the church? The church is to be separate from that, yes? Be ye separate, saith the Lord. Come out from among them, saith the Lord, right? Those types of things. So where did that compromise get made? Leadership, right? When you start to see that change, you know the roots go deeper. These are just the leaves, right? The roots go deeper. And that compromise had to be made somewhere else. And those compromises are affecting other things, right? And the Bible tells us, can a good tree bring forth corrupt fruit, right? Well, what is that? Is that what God wants? No, so that would be corrupt fruit. So how do you get corrupt fruit? What kind of tree must you have? Or what are you feeding your tree? Right? Because if it's by a nice, clean, clear river, right, you're going to have a good, well-fed tree. But if you're by, some river in Milwaukee, right, that's brown most of the time, what's your tree going to look like? Right? Just the same. All right, very good. So we have a wrong view of good and evil, but then what else? What's the other thing that they say? End of 13. What else are they saying? Because it says 17, sorry. End of 17. There's an or. So they're saying this, or they're saying, where's God? Right? Why hasn't God wiped out all the wicked people yet? Right? What's the verse? Everything's been the same since the beginning of creation. Where's the sign of his coming? Right? What is God doing? Yeah, well, there's that, right? Because think about that. If God wiped out all the wicked people, where would you be? Oh, wait a minute. Our churches are a lot less populated. Randy. It's okay because the Packers aren't playing today. So, chapter 3, verse 7 is our next thing, right? All right. Even from the days, chapter 3, verse 7, even from the days of your fathers, ye have gone away from mine ordinances and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye say, wherein shall we return? So what's this next part saying here? What type of people does God know that he's dealing with? Yeah, they're in denial, right? But even from your fathers, man, it's like, why won't you learn yet? I feel bad for God sometimes. We are really, really dumb. And he puts up with us something fierce, right? But that's what's going on here. Even from the days of your fathers, you've gone away. You have not kept mine ordinances, right? But what does he want? But what does he want? Starts with an R. Return. Return to me. Look, turn around. Look at what I've given you. Look at what I've given you. Pay attention to it. Follow it. Come to me. Right? That's what God wants. That relationship that's there. And what's their response? Yeah, wherein shall we return? What are they saying? Yeah, we haven't gone in. We're here. We're in church today. What do you want from us, God? God's going, look, I'm trying to tell you what I want, and you're not listening. Right? And then in verse 8, will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Right? So the whole thing is God pointing things out to them, and Israel's like, what? I didn't do anything. Right? Insert your own whiny voice there if you like. Whatever. The contrast that we see, because we talked in the beginning of how Ezra and Malachi and Nehemiah are contemporaries, and they're all kind of dealing with the different Israel, get your act together. Because look what happened. God brought you back. Why did God bring you here? God should just left you over there and let you die there, right? That's what you would have deserved. But God is merciful, right? God is gracious. God's trying to bring you around and say, hey, look who I am. Yeah, exactly. The contrast we see then in Nehemiah, go to Nehemiah chapter 8. Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 1. We see the flip side of this coin, right? And all the people, Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 1, and all the people gathered themselves together as one man into the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord had commanded it to Israel. What just happened there in verse 1? Now, we talked about Nehemiah last week, right, and what went on during that time. What's happening here in chapter 8, verse 1? Who did? The people did. Think about what's happening there. The people went to Ezra and said, can you read us the book of the law? Now, if you ever want to see pastor's head explode, right? Get a group together and say, can you read us the word of the Lord? And just watch jaw just fall off and ears fall off and be like, what? Right? Because oftentimes it's like pulling teeth to get people even to read the word of the Lord. You have a copy. They didn't even have a copy, right? You've got it. Do you read it? Right? They went to Ezra and said, will you read us? All the people. That's what they wanted. Okay? Verse 2. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding upon the first day of the 7th month. All right, so who's there? Yeah, they didn't have padded seats either. All the people were there. So think about this, men and women. So who does God want to have a relationship with? Everybody, right? Men and women. Who is not there? The priest, nice. No, who's not there? There is a group that is not there. Who's not there? Those that can't understand, right? Young, crying, those ones, they're not there. Okay? Why? Who cares? Why aren't they there? Why aren't they there? Tony? Yeah, who cares? Why aren't they there? They'd be a distraction. What's the point? These people want to hear. Yeah. Yeah. Verse 3. And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate from the morning until midday, before the men and the women, and those that could understand. And the ears of all the people were attentive unto the book of the law. So let's think about that for a second, right? How long of a morning service are you willing to tolerate? Right? Right? Think about that for a second, right? It's like, 11:30. This is 11:35. And in conclusion, 4 more points. Right? 11:45. I need a nap. I'm tired. Right? They were attentive. Right? And then there's times where everybody's like this. And I'm reading. I can hear things. My eyes are just really burning right now. So, right? But they were attentive. Why? They're trying to learn. Right? Think about that. Think about the book of the law, right? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Whew. There's some stuff in there, right? The names and all that. How many jokes are in there? How many personal illustrations are in there? Right? Anecdotes, whatnot, is in there. Right? Chuck, the other Peter. Yeah. Yeah.
It says, when they realized who he was, and they said, did not our heart burn within us while he taught?
Mm-hmm.
See, they knew they were listening to God. For most of us, do you remember that experience? When you first got saved, you couldn't get enough of it. This is God talking.
Yeah.
Like,
Why?
goodness,
Why can't you get enough then?
Because I didn't know it existed.
Right?
I didn't know he told us anything.
Right.
For me, that's all.
So why are you paying attention to it?
Because it's the truth.
Well, you hear truth all the time, right?
No, I don't.
Well, that's true. That was poorly phrased, right? Yeah. But I mean, think about why do you pay attention to something? Huh? There you go. Why do you desire it? It's important. Why is it important? Why do you desire it? Why? Why do you love it? Why do you like it? I mean, we like oranges, but we don't stay awake for oranges.
It's a message from God to you.
Oh, but people ignore God all the time. Right?
Conviction.
You're close, man. Come on. Come on. Why? Benefit to us. Right? There's a need. You have a need, right? If I were to give you $1,000 if you could stay awake for an hour, how many would stay awake for an hour? Right? Why? Benefit, a need, right? Well, I need $1,000. Well, okay. What if I woke you up at 2 a.m. and go, okay, now you got to stay awake? Could you do it? See, there's a funny thing that happens. My brother's hilarious. My brother went camping with his wife one time, and they, a bear came up and was was interested in the shed that was by them, right? And you hear rustling in the middle of the night where there shouldn't be rustling, and you're like, what? What's that? His wife got mad at him at one point because he fell asleep, and the bear is still out there, right? And he's like, oh, I could only be afraid for so long. I was tired. So he's sleeping while this bear is out there, right? But oftentimes that's the way we deal with God. God's always there. He'll be there when I wake up, right? But what we don't understand is that there's a need, right? We don't understand that there's a need. Otherwise, why would he tell us to be here? Why did these people gather to hear the word of the Lord? Right? Because it's not just, yes, God is the master, be in church, stay awake, listen, sing the song, sit down, right? He's not just the king, but what else is he? He's the father. Right? And what does a father do? Right? Katie, you have a father. Did your father give you everything you would need for your entire life all at once? No. How does it come? Right? Little by little. You're not Katie, though. Right? Right? It's little by little. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't there a verse that sounds a lot like that in Isaiah? Line upon line. Right? Here a little, there a little. Well, where does the little come? Well, in about 45 minutes. Are you going to be awake for it? I hope I am now. Right? But that's where it is. Because God will sneak that one little thing in there, that one little line in there, that pastor wasn't even planning to say, just for one of you. Because of something you're going through that just makes it click with what you're reading in your Bible. And it goes, oh, that makes total sense what God's doing to me. Wow. And a lot of the struggles that we go through, why did Israel have so many struggles? What did they not do? They couldn't bear it? What didn't they do? They didn't obey. Well, why didn't they obey? Because they weren't listening in the first place. Right? So there's a huge difference between what's going on in Nehemiah, and then you flip that coin and what's going on in Malachi. Right? What? I did what you told me to do. You didn't say you wanted it perfectly clean. All right? You want to see the floor? Go to your bedroom. Right? Okay? So, as we close then, which side are we on? We know which side we should be on, but which side are we on? Because where does God want you? Which side does God want you on? Right? And with that, we'll conclude our epic adventure through God's Word today. Y'all are dismissed.